51. The glory land the way. We'll sing all three stanzas of this one as well. Tim preaching at Liberty Free Will Baptist. I know it's sometimes it's hard having our pastor gone, but it is a privilege to have a pastor and a preacher as good as we have. And we need to lift him up in prayer continuously anyway, but especially when he's away preaching in other places. We need to make sure we saturate him in prayer and the people he's preaching to in prayer. That means the world to him, I know. And pray for Miss Rose as well. I know it's difficult with him that are coming and going and things of that nature. So, excuse me. Pray for the tool build coming up. That's coming up Saturday. And they're going, I believe it's 39, is that correct? 39 different pieces being built. All right. Somewhere around that. That does not mean that many people will be here. That means there will be more than that being here. We're probably looking at upwards 50 to 70 people probably, what do you think? Being here? Pushing 80? There will be about, somewhere between 50 and 80 people probably here Saturday, a lot of which wouldn't otherwise be darkening the door of the church. So please be much in prayer about that. That has come together in an amazing way. Pray for Brother Bill. He's kind of been the catalyst behind it all. Pray for Andrew. Andrew's going to be speaking at it. And there's just a lot of people that are going to be involved in this. And I mean, it's exciting to see what God's doing. And this is a part of our men's ministry, which has also been really taken off as well. And Brother Craig's kind of been a catalyst behind it. And just pray for that whole thing. It's been, it's been exciting to watch it take root. And I'm not trying to give people the credit. This is just something God's doing. God's doing this, and people are being available just to be themselves and let God use them in whatever way they want to be used. It's not things that are, it's not people that are bending over backwards trying to do things that are uncomfortable for them or out of their realm of expertise. They're just people being people and letting God use them and work through them. And that's what it's all about. So pray for Tool Bill, pray for Brother Bill, pray for Andrew, and pray for the multitude of people that will be here as a result of that. Pray for the Fall Festival coming up. That is by far our biggest outreach event, I think, for kids and things, so be much in prayer for that. We typically get at least a family, I think, out of these things. I know that's what Riley prays for, to be able to add a family to the church as a result. But there's so many contacts that are made, so many people that are reached, so many people that are touched. But we have to follow up on it. It's not just throwing something out there, casting a net, if you would. It takes the work of following up on them, praying for them, getting involved in their lives. And I'm talking to me as much as I am anybody. Trust me. That's our job. God bringing them to us, and we're doing our job to reach out to them. But we need to be there to meet their needs and touch lives. So the Fall Festival, movie nights coming up after that. I've heard a lot of positive things about that. Movie night's always good. I have a missionary friend in Canada who his wife was invited to do a review of that movie. What's the name? Risen. But and he was just telling me a little bit about it, talking about the glowing reviews that he got and everything, and so it can be used as a tool to build a bridge to somebody and to reach out and touch. Again, it's not just about entertainment. That's not what any of this stuff is about. This stuff is about reaching people, touching lives, making contacts to people that have needs, both immediate needs and eternal needs. So we need to kind of be aware that we need to be soul conscious, as Dr. Nate Ames used to say, or Dr. Joe Ames used to say, passing on to his sons. Now I'm giving it to you, that's free of charge. Be soul conscious. Be aware that there are people around for their eternal souls. Anybody else? I know Lanny mentioned the Williams family. Was it the son that took his life? Pray for the Williams family. I know there's a lot of emotional turmoil that goes with that, and needs, spiritual needs, things of that nature. Anybody else? Men's ministry, November 4th. Anybody else? No. Oh, Louise Maxwell. Which hospital? BDCH. Anybody else? All right, be in prayer for Jordan.
Over this Christmas break, I got accepted to go on a mission trip to China. So I just got all the details finalized and have about a month of fundraising. So just keep in prayer. There's going to be 3 teams in China while we're there. So just keep prayer for everyone who's going, all college students from my teams, just from Alabama, but there's teams from other states that are going to be there. It's exciting, but also nerve-wracking. Yeah. So
it's exciting. I tell you, I'm getting fired up. We got some young people that are answering the call to preach, answering the call to mission field, do whatever God wants them to do. And I promise you, if you just allow God to work through you, Dr. Randy Cox told me a long time ago. He said, "Man, if you just follow the will of God, it's wilder than any roller coaster you could ever be on. I mean, He'll take you higher and farther than you would ever imagine." That's exciting. China. That's exciting. We are going to have an impact in China. This is a product of us being invested in Nova. try to push. All right. I'm just kind of caught between the two here. Pray for Jordan. He's going to be speaking to us tonight. But my first recollection of Jordan is him coming down the center aisle on a unicycle. Now, that may not have been the first time I met him. That's my first recollection. That was my first vacation Bible school here. Miss Rosie had this whole place done up like a big top. And I was Samson the strong man. He was, what was he, a clown or something, just a unicycle guy or whatever. But he was on a unicycle and Caleb was on stilts. And that was the beginning of something amazing. And it's been a privilege to watch Jordan grow. And I mean, not just physically, but spiritually as well. And it's exciting to see what God is doing with the young people. I promise you. But you being much in prayer for them. They're going to have a lot of ups and downs. Like I said, it's a roller coaster. But God will lead you every step of the way. It's exciting to just step back and watch Him do things that you can't do. All right, with no further ado, I'm going to ask Caleb. Would you pray for these prayer requests and lift up your brother? And then we're going to turn it over to him and let him bring the word of God.
Lord, thank you for letting us come here tonight. I just thank you for all that you've given us. And I just pray you be with all these prayer requests, all the ones who need you. And I pray that we be the body of Christ and go and visit and show your love and show that we're thinking and praying for others. I just pray you be with Jordan and bring us the message tonight. I just pray that we prepare us for the message he's given us and let him speak the words you've given him, Lord. And just thank you for all you've given us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
There we go. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to fill in Dr. Sam, so y'all can hear a good Baumgarten. Good to have some of my family here. My stepbrother, who I consider my brother, Candace here. Many of y'all have met him before, the last few months. You might not have liked him, I don't know, but he's a changed person now, and he's recently changed his call to preach, and he's been a big. I think he's trying to copy me, but I think he's been a big inspiration. Well, he has been a big inspiration to me. So if I meet him and Nana's here, good to have her here. Good to have Phil and Taylor back safely from their honeymoon. Wedding went pretty well. It was as good as it could go. I kept asking Taylor's dad. We had to walk about a quarter of a mile down to where they were having the wedding. It was all outside. My shoes are still dirty, Taylor. I kept asking her dad. I was like, I think I gave you that long walk in case on the way you just want to change your mind, just walk off. You got plenty of time to think about it. No, I read really well. So when Uncle Tim asked me to preach, it was a little bit short notice. Last time I had a few weeks to prepare, and I still didn't feel like I had enough to prepare. And he gave me less than a week this time, so I think it would go pretty well. He's asked me, he's like, tell me not to get nervous. I was like, I don't really get nervous. I don't mind being in front of people. When I get up here, I get overwhelmed. I kind of forget, which I probably noticed last time I spoke, forget what I was going to speak on and try to use Uncle Tim's tactic of crying. All right, if you got your Bibles, turn to Hebrews chapter 12, starting in verse 12. Here we go. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. Looking diligently, lest any man fail the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. Now the title of my sermon, Keith might try to claim that I stole it from him. And I know he's a lawyer, but I might fight him. That's something he's told us for a while in our college group, and it's kind of really stuck to me. And that title is, Don't Trade What You Want Most for What You Want Now. All right, let's pray. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for everything you've done for us, Lord. Thank you for letting us come together and fellowship with another, Lord. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to worship you, Lord. I think a lot of times we take for granted the opportunities we're given. And, other people in parts of the world, a lot of times they don't have the opportunities or the comfortabilities we have, Lord. I think a lot of times we take that for granted. So please let's keep our eyes upon you, Lord. Keep following you. And just bless the hearing of your word, Lord. Please let your word be spoken here, Lord. In Jesus' name, pray. Amen. So has anyone ever bought something impulsively or wish they did?
Yeah.
I know one person, I'm sure named Caleb. And I'm sure everyone's probably seen an infomercial, or has seen on TV. Has anyone ever bought, well, actually, screw that. Have anybody ever bought something from an infomercial, or has seen on TV? I don't think you have. It's funny, when you're in those commercials, they either make up a problem nobody has, or exaggerate on a very simple problem. I saw, when I was looking up, I just saw some really funny ones I like. I think my favorite was called the Fat Magnet. Thought that wasn't as good. But the Fat Magnet, supposedly, I don't know what it did. It was like a magnet. They say you run it over food or whatnot, it pulls the fat out. It's over my head. I don't know if it's engineering, Tyler, we're going to figure it out. But the commercial I saw that was probably the funniest. There's a guy that pops up on the screen, and they're always screaming. I don't know, they're always yelling. They don't talk. They're always really loud. You probably remember the Billy Mays guy. But he asked the question. They ask these questions about this non-existent problem, or a problem that's not really big issue. But he asked the question, aren't you tired of enjoying a relaxing evening on your couch, but then it's all ruined because you can't reach something? And I started thinking, I was like, no, kind of. Maybe so, it might be nice. And it's funny how they get you to think, they show a bunch of ridiculous videos of people exaggerating like they're dying to reach the remote. Like it's like the end of their life. They're trying to reach it and they can't get it. And then out of nowhere, he gives you this one-of-a-kind, extraordinary device to save you from this awful issue you have. He then introduces you to the grabber. I don't know if you remember any of those things. It's got I think it's about 3 foot long. It's got a little handle that squeeze, and on the end it's got a little claw that pinches, so you can grab stuff. One of a kind. And then they show videos of people using it to grab stuff, and they're acting like it's the best thing ever. Like it's saving their lives. They give these funny testimonials. The person's like, I don't know what I could have done if I didn't have the grabber there to grab a bottle of water. And then it's funny, as a final tactic, they tell you, for only 5 minutes, you can get 2 for the price of 1. And I'm thinking, who needs 2 grabbers? They're acting like it's a backup parachute. If I can't reach my remote or my grabber to get the remote, I don't think I'm going to pull out a spare grabber. But it's funny how you see how the world can use some clever things to change your mindset a little bit, to alter kind of what you're thinking. And it gets you off course, gets you distracted. And that's what we see today in Scripture. And so I did listen to Brother Scott Coghill. I have 3 points. And I even got them alliterated like Uncle Tim, which was, I have to give my hats off to him, it was a little bit harder than I thought. My last point, I was on thesaurus.com for about 20 minutes to try to figure out how a synonym for outcome or consequence that started with the letter B. But I found one. I've never heard of it before, but hey. But so, now if you go to Bibles, go over to Genesis. Hebrews 12, go to Genesis 25, Hebrews 12 references the story in Genesis of Esau. We're going to read that real quick. Genesis 25, starting verse 29. Jacob had some pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore his name was called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall his birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage and lentils. And he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So my first point is, beware of the bargain. You know, life is a process of trading one thing for another. Throughout life, you know, we're given a certain time and abilities, and which we exchange for, you know, gain other things such as money, food, shelter, relationships, leisure, pleasure. Everything's an exchange. The scary thing is, it's easy to trade away your life, exchanging your time and abilities for things that don't matter, or even worse, for things that cause you and others great harm. Sometimes the bad bargain you make is so pivotal that it can affect the rest of your life and even have eternal consequences. Every day we trade our life, our soul, for something. The question is for what? When your time is done and your life is spent, what will you have to show for it? If you trade it in for fleeting pleasures and instant gratifications, you'll come up short. You'll come up empty. But if you trade your life for God's kingdom and righteousness to fulfill His purpose, you'll be satisfied with that which can no one take from you. You know, just like that infomercial, the world, the devil, has these tactics, these gimmicky tactics that when we talk about it here, you know, we're laughing because it's man, how can somebody buy that? They sell a ton of them. You know, and so you got to remember that the world and the devil, you know, they know what tempts us the most. They know what can make us stumble. And if we don't stay vigilant, there's a great chance we do so. So how do we avoid making bad bargains? Hebrews 12, 1 and 2. Unless you want to flip there, it kind of gives me extra time. It seems like it's longer than it is. 1 and 2. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Looking on to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. So you want to know how to avoid making bad bargains? Look to Jesus. It tells you right there, the entire theme of chapter 12 is that of endurance, perseverance, and faith. The apostle knew that when we started, you know, our journey through our Christian life, it's not just a coast. You can't just coast through life. You're either moving forward or moving backwards. And if you don't have that perseverance and that endurance, you know, you're not going to finish. You're not going to finish the race. And it also takes patience. You know, no patience isn't something we like to think about. The only thing I've ever been patient on was waiting for Jay to be done. I was telling him to keep going. Got some more time up for me, but and going back to our original verses, you know, starting at 12, it says, Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men in holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord, looking diligently lest any man fail of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. So the whole chapter, verse 12, is telling you how to avoid these bad bargains. You know, you got to keep your eyes upon Jesus. You got to keep working forward. You got to keep, you know, moving in through your Christian walk. You got to be diligently. You got to follow peace with all men. You want to try to make peace at all costs with others. And you know, it gets to the point of don't fail because it can affect those around you. You know, there's a lot more on the line than just you. There's others around you. You know, we see. I guess it's not a sermon up here unless I bring up Jonah. That's Uncle Tim's favorite book. You know, Jonah. Those sailors had a lot. I mean, they went through a lot. That's bad. And it's all because of Jonah's sin. You know, your sin affects those other around you. It is when we take our eyes off of Jesus that we fall. So how do we avoid making bad bargains and potentially sharing Esau's fate? Well, there's a difference between making a bad bargain. There's a difference, I used to get up Sunday mornings, I'm tired, I'm going to church. I traded fellowship time. I traded learning time, spending time with God and God's people for being lazy. And that's not a good bargain either. But you see, with Esau's bargain, there was much more at stake. And that brings us to our next point. Beware of the birthright. Esau's life is the story of someone who traded his soul for a fleeting pleasure and instant gratification. Back then, the birthright wasn't just family privileges and double the inheritance, which is pretty great. If Caleb had double the inheritance, might be getting rid of it. But it was also spiritual blessings as well. And you see, when he traded his birthright, the Bible says he ate and drank and rose and went on his way. He made the bargain, and in that moment, it felt good. That's a lot of times with sin. We make this bargain to sin in our lives, and in the moment, it feels good. We have this short pleasure, but it's fleeting. It doesn't stay. It's temporary. And you see, it wasn't before long that he started regretting it. Someone said the difference between school and life is that in school, you're taught a lesson and then given a test. In life, you're given a test which teaches you a lesson. And now this is just speculation, but when you read the Genesis, the verses about the bargain that was struck, you see Esau wasn't surprised by the bargain offer. Even given the absurdity of it, like who would ever trade, spiritual blessing aside, who would ever trade double the inheritance for a bowl of soup? Which is kind of fitting, that a bowl of soup over there. So I think Rosie was looking at my notes. But yeah, you see that he might not have been surprised. So it seems to speak that maybe this wasn't the first time Jacob or Isaac tried to bargain for his birthright. And just as the devil in the world will repeatedly try to get you to give up your birthright. And as Christians, we've got to be vigilant. We've got to be strong. During the good times, Esau was able to overcome the temptation to bargain. But his birthright wasn't important to him. And so when trouble came, he was willing to bargain away his birthright without second thought. And, you see that a lot of times in our churches today. We see, in the United States especially, we've lived very comfortable lives. It hasn't really meant anything to us to claim Christianity. We haven't had to sacrifice anything. On the contrary, especially in the South, it's popular, or at least it's popular to claim Christianity. You have a lot of people claiming it that either aren't, or if they are, they don't take it importantly. And if persecution comes and they have times of trouble, you see them trade away their birthright for the simple pleasures they're needing during that time. And so we got to stay vigilant. And don't give the devil a foothold. It seems that Jacob might have offered a trade multiple times. And, it seems if Esau would have said, no, there's no price I would ever sell my birthright, you would think that, that might have been the end of it. We see that, we're not supposed to give the devil a foothold. So if you have a temptation in your life and you think you can overcome it on your own, you kind of just set it off. You might be able to beat it a few times, but if you're not careful, it can hit you when you're down. And you might not be able to resist at that moment. If your salvation isn't important to you and you don't keep your eyes upon Jesus, you risk the chance to lose it all. Which brings us to our third point. Which is beware of the backwash. I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard that word. Thesaurus.com. Just saying. They don't look more than me. According to thesaurus.com, the second definition, I'll go to the first one. This is about water or something. It talks about outcomes and consequences. So I'll have to stop being so tough on Uncle Tim, because that was tough to figure that out. If you bargain away your life and soul, it can have severe and eternal consequences like we talked earlier. You know, Genesis 25:34 says, after the bargain was made, that Esau despised his birthright. Not only did he trade that probably what he wanted most, you know, he might not have noticed at the time, but afterwards he despised it. And you see that a lot with, you know, Christians today or even non-Christians. I know when Brother Scott was here, we talked about, you know, his two things for why there's no, you know, why we don't see the power of God in the church today, and it was false conversions and failed commissions. And I think with a lot of people, you see them, they want to be saved. You know, you see a lot of people asking, looking, you know, what's after this life. And I truly think, obviously, nobody wants to go to hell, want to go to heaven. And a lot of people try out Christianity, it seems like. You have a lot of people that start learning, start coming, and then a bargain hits them. You know, they come to a crossroads. You know, either they got to keep with their faith, you know, what they're trying to believe in, or go left back to their old lives. You know, they want, a lot of times people choose, you know, the Christian life isn't easy. God told us it wasn't going to be easy. You know, we're going to be facing persecution. And it's going to, you know, it can cost you. You know, all the disciples were killed, martyrs. And so you never know when that's going to hit you. Oh yeah. But you see a lot of times when you lose that bargain, and if like a lot of people, times when people accept the sin or their faith, they end up despising their faith because of it. Because their faith is what convicts them. You know, it tells them, hey, what you did there was wrong. And it makes them despise it, which makes them push away even farther. And you see that with Esau. And sadly enough, you know, in Hebrews 12:17, speaking of Esau, it says, for you know that afterwards, when he desired to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no chance to repent, though he sought it with tears. And, you know, as Real Baptist, you know, I think we believe, obviously, that that's an example of apostate. You know, he had his birthright, and he traded it in, and despised it. And even after a while, you see, he carefully and authentically sought it back. You know, he sought it with tears. You know, it's a sad thing. You know, you don't want to ever see somebody at that state. So it really puts it into perspective. You know, how Genesis ended, you know, saying despise the birthright is strong enough. When you read that Hebrews 12:17, it really puts it into perspective how much he regretted trading his birthright. And we can get there at that place in life. You know, we can get where, you know, a lot of people say they want, I think most people say they want a happy, faithful, fruitful, godly marriage and family. Yet a lot of times they'll trade it for sexual immorality now. You know, there's all these things we want that we'll settle for a cheap version of it that's not fulfilling. And it can risk your overall goal. You're trading that overall goal for something that's fleeting, something that's not going to last. And you think to yourself, that's crazy. Why would we ever do that? We're still on this street. You know, that's just us as human beings. We get caught up. We get a blinder over our eyes. We don't see what's important. And that's why I loved, you know, earlier in chapter 12, I think the simple thing is look on to Jesus. If you have your eyes set on Jesus and you're always following him, you know, those bargains will still come. You'll still be tempted, but you'll be able to make the right decision. But also, your bargains not only affect your life, but those around you. For example, if a man, you know, decided to trade his family time for business success, and he lost his wife and children, it wasn't a good bargain. You know, he might have stuff now, he might have achieved his goals, but like C.S. Lewis said, if you're not eternal, he's eternally useless. Or you even see with Christian leaders sometimes exchange some of his time for sexual pleasures outside of his marriage. And it not only costs him his ministry, his family, but it also greatly damages the cause of Christ. And so there's a lot riding on our own personal relationship. You know, it's not just you know, at home, reading your Bible, following God, and, you know, it's a community, it's a body. And if we're not living the ways that we're supposed to, not making the right bargains, it affects the whole body. Well, I had something for young people. But you've been in here. Fred, you're not young. You got a few. But I mean, this applies to old people too, but and I kind of already hit on it. But if your desire is one day to have a faithful, fruitful, and godly marriage and family, then don't trade it for sexual immorality now. I point this out specifically because the Bible makes a point to point it out specifically. You see it in verse 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person. And if you don't notice, that makes it a lot of times in the Bible when it's talking about sin, it specifically points out sexual immorality. And so I obviously think there's a reason for that. He's meaning to remind us. Because I think that's probably one of the main things we have to guard ourselves against. So that was one thing I was going to tell young people. But you too. That's how I play over there. Yeah, you see that in verse 15, many other places. It's also sweet. You can listen here in college. Now, for example, when I first got to college, the biggest shock to me wasn't the rampant partying, drugs, alcohol, immorality going on. I knew college was an environment where that happens pretty much on a grand scale. And, the Bible tells us that, majority aren't going to heaven. So, actually, I was the majority there, they're mostly sinners and unbelievers, so they're probably going to be engaging in that activity. So that wasn't really what shocked me. What did shock me, though, is the multiples of people who claim Christianity, and some who are even very active in a church, but they were involved in the same drinking, drug usage, sexual immorality that the multiples of non-believers were involved in. And even as, since our uncle can't ever, like that little gnat always here telling us stuff, even being around such a great influence on our family and stuff, even then, at sometimes point in college, I'm just like, well, maybe it's all right. You see these other people doing it, and you think, maybe it's all right. And, I don't point this out, to pass judgment against those people, but as a wake-up call for all of us, that if you aren't keeping your eyes upon Jesus, and the devil can and will use whatever he can to get you to bargain away your blessing. There's a great book. Me and Keith like to talk about C.S. Lewis all the time. He has a book called Screwtape Letters. And it's, if any of y'all read or have read it, it's a book, I think Screwtape Letters. Yeah, it's letters, from two demons. One is like an older one, more experienced one, giving lessons and leading the younger one and how to, overcome the person he's attacking, trying to get the guy to fall. And it shows a lot of great examples that can give a lot of insight into how the devil will try to attack in your life and everything. One of the things I thought was interesting, it's been a long time since I read the book, but in the book I believe the guy joins like a college group. He's in a group of college, church group, a group of church people that they're hanging out with. And, the older demons even telling that guy, you can even use that to bring him down. Even these things that are, good or are not completely bad can be bad influences on you, can be bad stumbling blocks to you. And then vice versa. If we're not keeping our eyes upon Jesus and walking the walk we should and doing the things we should, we are that hindrance. We're that stumbling block. Chapter 12 starts off with, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. And that every weight is anything that's going to hinder you from running your race, and which can be good or bad. It specifically points out and sin, so you see that every weight can be good things. Family can be a hindrance. There's a lot of things that you can get involved in that can really affect your walk. The consequences of trading your birthright away is the springing up of a root of bitterness, a bitter root that produces bitter fruit to themselves and others. We see that, in chapter 12 it says, do not start up a root of bitterness, because you see how it affects everybody else. And you see Esau profanely despised and traded away his birthright and all the advantages thereof. Matthew Henry went even on to say, it was like the single most profane, use the word bargain because it's much. You see, that's probably the biggest or the worst bargain, you ever seen. He gave up everything. And so, you see, so do apostates who try to avoid, people that either apostate or people that are just falling into sin. They do this to avoid persecution and to enjoy an instant gratifications and worldly pleasures. Even though for the apostates, they once bore the character of the children of God and had a visible right to the blessing inheritance. Still, they give all that up for a bad bargain that'll leave them broken and empty. And it's kind of crazy to think, salvation is the greatest thing we've ever had. It's clear. It's so crazy how, like those infomercials, we can allow stuff to make us do something that we in our right mind would probably never do it anytime else in a different scenario. So you gotta be careful. You gotta be vigilant. I think what's that old saying? Idle hands. Somebody should tell that to me when I play video games. So if you're not moving forward, you're not moving. And the sad thing is, like at the end, of our scripture, verse 12, when the day of grace is over, those who have not received and held on to their birthright will find no place for repentance. You never know when in this world, when in your life, the day of grace is over. Romans 1, talks about God eventually will give people over their sin. And, there's no place for repentance. You find that with Esau. He traded it, and I would assume after he traded it, he probably had a chance to repent. But he ended up despising it. Matthew Henry also said, the greatest fall of some people is not sinning and just not repenting. It's sinning and then standing by their sin. And you see that a lot with people, people's vices turn into their virtues. People know this stuff is wrong, but to try to convince themselves that it's good, they live it. They try to become it, and it's sad. Even with much distraught and tears, Esau was unable to find repentance. So tonight I want you to ask yourself, what are you living for? If you're living just for good feelings, instant gratifications, and fleeting pleasures, then you're missing God's purpose for your life. You're selling your birthright for a bowl of soup. There was a story I read, I'm not really good with this, but a world-class runner entered a 10K race. And on the day of the race, she drove down, following the directions she was given. When she got lost, she stopped at a gas station and asked for help. The only thing she knew was that the race started in a shopping mall parking lot. The attendant also knew of such race scheduled just up the road and told her how to get there. When she arrived, she was relieved to see that there weren't as many runners as she had anticipated. Not as much competition. She hurried to the registration table where they told her they had no record of her entry. But if she hurried and put on a number, she could be in line just where the gun went off. She ran the race and won easily 4 minutes ahead of the closest competitor. Only after the race did she learn that the race she had run was not the race she had entered days before. That race was being held several miles further up the road in another town. She had gone to the wrong starting line, she run the wrong course, and she won a cheap prize. We only get one chance in life, one chance in the race of life. Are you making sure you aren't wasting your life by running the wrong race? Matthew 16:26 says, For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul?
Amen.
Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? If you're living for instant gratifications and worldly fleeting pleasures, or if you're just trying to use God for what he can do for you, you'll end up losing your spiritual blessings. You'll end up losing your race. But if you trade your life for God's kingdom and righteousness to fulfill his purpose, you'll be satisfied with that which no one can take from you. Okay. Oh yeah, I don't have, oh, you did announcements already? Want to sing a song? We got about 10 minutes. Want me to sing a solo? All right, Don, you just want me to dismiss it?
I'm not gonna preach until I'm gonna resist that temptation. That was good. I appreciate that. Pray for these guys. Pray for young people. Pray for your brothers and sisters. I know with the men's ministry and Sunday school class, I know you guys are really good about sending out prayer requests when you touch base with people. Jimmy's always touching base with people and saying, hey, pray for so-and-so. I just talked to somebody and, then that starts a chain. Iron sharpens iron. And, it makes me think, what you're preaching about tonight makes me think about those times. You never know when you're sending out a text like that, when somebody might be facing an argument. Something like that, something as simple as that may wake them up and say, hey, I don't need that. That's just a grab. I can do without that. But, people need to understand that they're being prayed for. We're a team. And we need to help people make good decisions to walk a godly path. Because it's like you said, the temptations are there for all of us. And everything that glitters is not gold. But Satan will sure enough throw it out there. So let's lift each other up. Let's pray for each other. And let's avoid those cheap bargains. Get what's best, what God's best plan is. Again, I'm going to resist that. Any announcements besides coming up? I know we have